So then, one last control flow technique to look at, and that is switch statements. So imagine we have a value. I've called this value grade, and that is some kind of test grade. And it could be many different values. It could be A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. Now I've given it D, but it could have been any one of those values. Now imagine that we want to check what that grade was and output a different message to the user dependent on the grade. So we could potentially use an else if statement like this for each different grade and then output something different in each code block. Now that's fine, but it gets a bit tiresome writing these conditions out over and over again, and it starts to look a bit untidy as well. Now a better way to do this, where we're checking multiple possible values of a single variable, is to use a switch statement. And we do this by typing, first of all, switch. Then inside we do our variable which we're evaluating, that's grade, and then we open up our code blocks. Now before we carry on, let me just delete all this because we don't need that anymore. So now we're checking the value of this variable. Now we're going to have several different cases what it could be. It could be an A, it could be a B, it could be an F, an E. So we want to check all of the different cases that it could be. And we do that by using the case keyword, then whatever that case could be. So in the case that it could be A, we say the case A, and then we do a colon. Then underneath we indent for readability, and we write the code that we want to run if grade is A. So I could say something like console.log and then say you got an A. Okay? So what I'm going to do is just grab this and I'm going to paste it down here a few different times. Let me just scoot that back over. Copy. Let me just paste these in and then I'll make the formatting better. So case, and case. Now we want to check the case is B the second time, then C, then D, then E, and then at the end we do a default case by typing in default, and then we'll say console.log and we'll just say not invalid grade. Okay, so what's happening? Well, we're checking this variable and we have all of these different cases that it could be. Now, if grade is A, it's going to run this code. If grade is B, it's going to run this code instead. If it's C, this code, etc. Now we just need to update these messages that we log to the console. So let's do B, C, C, and then D and E. So now then, if we run this, what's going to happen? Well, hopefully it will see that the grade is D. It skips this and this and this. Then it gets to this, it says, okay, well, grade is D, so I'm going to run this code. So if we save that and preview, then we can see you got a D, you got an E, and not a valid grade. So it's running this, but it's also running this and this. Now, if we change this to A and save, then notice it runs A and everything after it. So why is it doing that? Well, as soon as it gets to a case that it matches, for example, C, then it's going to run the code, but it's also going to run the code in every case after that as well. Now, in order to combat this, in each case, at the end of it, we need to do the break keyword. And what that does is run only the code for that case, and then it breaks out of the switch statement. So let's add this in all of them, and down here as well. And then finally here. Now, in the default case, we don't need to use the break because that is the last one. And the default case runs only when this is something that's not covered in any of these cases. For example, if this was, I don't know, P or something like that. So save it, now run it, and we see we only get the code inside the case for C. Now, if we change this to something like P, we're just going to get the end default case right here. So let's save it and preview, not a valid grade. So there we go, that is a switch statement. And these are good for evaluating a variable which could be several different values if you want to react differently in each case. Just one thing to note, switch statements use strict equality to check. So for example, if I type in 50, for example, if it was out of 100 this grade, and we used numbers like this, then that is not going to work. So if I save this now and come over here, we see not a valid grade because it's using strict equality. And remember, that is triple equals, and it takes into consideration the type as well as the actual value. So this would have to be a string to match. So save, and now we can see it.